This is William Robinson with theviralhair.com, and we're speaking with Kevin J. Anderson. Um,
Yes, we are speaking with Kevin J. Anderson. I'm here.
and we're at the Houston Writers Conference and a Writers Guild Conference. And I have a question which I think you have a unique perspective on because you work with so many different franchises like Star Wars and Dune. When people take, say, background stuff an author like yourself has created, and they think they kind of recycle it without really giving consideration to the previous material. Is that something you kind of can go with the flow on, or kind of bugs you sometimes that it's not really looked at properly?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of different parts to that. Like if you're a Star Trek fan and you're writing Star Trek fan fiction because you just want to keep writing more Captain Picard stories or something, and you're doing it for your own enjoyment. Heck, I did that myself when I was in high school. I wrote tons of old series Star Trek short stories, and that's fine. I think it helps build the fandom, but you can't sell it or publish it anywhere because you don't own that intellectual property. There are other people who, shall we say, get influenced heavily by something, and say if another person were writing a story set on a desert planet with giant centipedes, and there was this substance called herbs or something, and that would be a little bit. I couldn't say if it's legally copyright infringement, but write your own story. It's great, but I'm an avid reader. I've read tons of science
Right.
fiction, and everything that I've read. I mean, I can't. Dune has certainly influenced me.
Yeah.
Like not my Dune book, well, obviously, but the Dune books, but my other books, just the way he tells a story and the way it's all put together. Arthur C. Clarke had some like mind blowing ideas that I love this and I want to run with it. So science fiction is a conversation. We all exchange our ideas and we keep doing it. But don't just change the serial numbers and do the same story.
Right. And along those lines, when you're doing, again, the license work that you do, um, is there, and then you go to your original work, is there a process where you kind of like have to switch gears a little bit for yourself, that you're in your own universe now instead of somebody else's? So you've got to maybe take a breath or a couple beats and go, okay, this is what I go work on now. This is my stuff, so I can go with
Well,
that.
I mean, when you're writing a story in Star Wars or in the Dune universe or in X-Files or in Batman, and I've done all of those universes aren't just like licensed universes. They're like real to me. I have to get into that mindset, and I'm thinking like Star Trek right now, or I'm thinking like Star Wars right now. And there's a language that they use, like in Dune.
Right.
uh, the space travel is a different mechanism than it is in Star Wars with hyperdrive, and Star Trek with warp drive, and they all have their own different language. And I really have to get in, and my original stuff has its own language. Like
Right.
there's a communicator, there's a there's a comm link, everything. It's the same, but it's got a different label depending on which universe you're using it. And there are many times if I'm like writing a Saga of Seven Sons book, and I'm going, wait a second, it's a Plaz window? No, that's what Dune calls it. And then you have to kind of get your vocabulary right. But when I'm writing in a licensed universe, like, I mean, a regular licensed universe where it's got a company like Lucasfilm or Disney that's doing it, there are so many rounds of approvals and outlines and everything that it's really set in stone. But when it's my own stuff, I have a lot more freedom, and I can pursue my own storylines without getting anybody but my own approval. And
Right.
the Dune stuff is a little bit of a hybrid because it is based on all Frank Herbert's work, but it's Brian Herbert and I who are writing them. It's not a giant committee doing everything.
Right.
It's the two of us.
Cool. Now, you've been to quite a few cons and conferences over the years.
Oh, quite a few, yeah.
What is probably the weirdest experience you may have had with a fan or at a show that you can think of?
Well, there's been some really great ones. I mean, people have come up introducing me to their children named after characters from my books. And I had one guy come up to me who had just come back from Afghanistan, and he had been reading my book Paul of Dune, which is a hardcover, a big, thick Dune hardcover that I wrote with Brian Herbert. And he showed me the copy with the dent in it because it had stopped a bullet for him.
Wow.
That he had it in like his flak jacket or something, and it stopped a bullet. So my book saved somebody's life. How's that? That's kind of cool.
Well, I can understand that because when I was in the service and you trade books with your friends who are also sci-fi fans, a couple of those books, like Tales of the Bounty Hunters, helped me keep my sanity at times.
Well, I had another guy who was on a Navy submarine, and they were underwater, and they were
Yeah.
away from shore for a long time. And he came up at San Diego Comic-Con. He came up, and he's like pumping my hand, and, oh, you don't know how much we all appreciate you because your novel Darksaber was like the only book we had on the submarine, and everybody read that book. And so that's kind of cool.
It was very cool. Now, you mentioned fans that have named their children after some of your characters. Does being sort of a multi-generational, multi-decade type author ever get old, or is it like something that kind of keeps you going?
Well, that's what it's all about. I mean, when you want to be a writer, you want people to read your work.
Right.
And to know that, well, first off, to know people are reading your work is great. To know people who read your work and it meant so much to them that it changed their life to the point where they named their kid after it. And then that they're carrying the torch and carrying it on and having their kids read the book of mine that they read, it really makes me feel old, I guess. But
So, with all the layouts changing constantly, everything from before COVID to post-COVID with con layouts, have you ever seen where just you've had your table set up, but someone else has kind of jammed it up and you're trying to get people there? Has it become harder to navigate post-COVID, or is it something you're able to manage pretty well?
well, I mean, COVID was, to me, one of the effects that COVID had was I was doing like 15 cons a year.
Right.
I mean, like 2-3 a month, and just not, and it was just a death march. I didn't realize how ragged it was running me, and I didn't realize how much it ate into my writing time and energy.
Right.
I was going to cons all the time. And then COVID hit, and that just like came to a screeching halt. No more cons. And for that whole year and a half or whatever it was until the next con I went to, I kind of realized that maybe I don't need to do 15 cons a year. I went camping for the first time in 5-6 years. I went, oh, I should make time for camping now, and I should make time for hiking, and so it changed my perspective a little bit about not needing to do so many appearances and running around. So that's one thing. We used to do a whole lot more close contact and touching, and I mean, it was a thing. People would come up and they'd want their picture with me, so I'd stand there, or I'd put my hand on their shoulder, or we just stand close and get pictures, and
Right.
stopped doing that for quite a while, and it just kind of changed your mindset of anybody who's gone to a lot of conventions knows the dreaded 2-word term con crud. That you come home and it's Monday or Tuesday and you start going, oh, I'm feeling sick.
Yeah, I've caught it.
But that was just the thing. And it was a cold, and it lasted 3-4 days, and you were kind of yucky, and then you went to a con the next week and then caught another one. And although because I went to so many cons, I was pretty much immune and bulletproof because I've been exposed to every possible thing. But COVID's not con crud. I mean, I don't know that I've ever had it. I've never tested positive, but I came back from a vacation a couple months ago, and my wife and I were just both laid flat, and it was nothing like I'd ever had before. So it tested negative, but I think it might have been one. But anyway, getting off the subject, but
No.
COVID changed all of our attitudes toward being in crowds. I mean,
Right.
well, San Diego Comic-Con, that's like a scene out of Soylent Green. I mean, you're like crammed face first into people and shoulder to shoulder. And I guess I've lost my comfort level for that some now. So anyway, but I still love going to cons. I'm loving being here at the Houston Writers Conference, and
Right.
and I'm going to New York Comic Con next week, and I think that'll keep me busy.
Right. And to kind of wrap up, as a sci-fi writer, primarily, and you've seen all kinds of changes, and also having a tech background, and it's being such a hot topic right now, do you think that, as some people predict, that AI will destroy all genres of writing or all subject to robotic rule, or do you see it as just another tool that's going to assist all kinds of writers in the long run?
Well, it's another tool, and I mean, I couldn't have gotten here without asking Siri for directions someplace, or I mean, we're so used to it. And I'm in my kitchen and I want to cook green chili stew, so I go, and ask Alexa to show me recipes for green chili stew. I have cookbooks, but I never look at them anymore. I just call it. So all that, we've gotten so used to it, and it's so ubiquitous, but it is also so pervasive. It's like everywhere. And yes, there could be some evil person figure out a way to use that to be intrusive.
Right.
But I guess what I worry most is AI gets really, really powerful, and some clueless human asks it to do something that ends up making us extinct. Like commanding an AI, solve global warming. Okay, well, get rid of all the humans and there won't be any more global warming. Well, I'm not sure I like that solution, but humans have always not thought through with the consequences of what they do. Like, let's turn rabbits loose in Australia and see what happens. And, that didn't turn out very well. And many times where we thought we were doing one thing but never thought of the second and third and fourth order consequences. So by giving, well, like 20 years ago or so, I don't remember the exact date, but when there was computerized trading on Wall Street,
Right.
all of a sudden, bam, they could make decisions like thousands of times before we would even notice something was changing. Well, maybe that's not a good idea. So, but don't take away my Siri. I want to be able to ask for the weather report, and I want to find my recipes and stuff.
And if half those ideas weren't there, there would be no, 1/4 sci-fi be gone anyway, because you've been making bad decisions with
Yes.
technology. So, okay. Thank you for your time, Mr.
right.
Anderson.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day.